Are you on the edge of burnout in your business and half of you wants to keep going and the other half of you wants to give up? If so, stick around for this video because we're gonna share our 3 tips on how to avoid burnout in your life or business. I'm Brit and this is Chris Carmichael, and we're the founders of The Elevated Life, where we teach you simple mindset shifts to create radical transformation in your life. I'm so excited to join you and share these topics because we know a thing or two about burnout when it comes to owning your own business, especially if you have multiple businesses. It can be so overwhelming, right? So burnout is one of those things that is almost unavoidable if you're not taking time for yourself. So stick around and we're gonna share those 3 tips for you.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most important topics in the entrepreneurial journey, and nobody talks about it. Everybody wants to talk about how to make more money,
ROI,
how to do more marketing,
Facebook ads,
how to strategize your time better,
stories,
how you can be in this mastermind and that thing, and no one talks about but what's going on inside of you? And what do you do when, despite the fact that you have such a powerful or a big dream, you can't get anything done because you're just wiped. It's been too many ideas, too many late night hours,
too many decisions,
too much time neglecting your friends and fam and getting back to those fun things that you're so used to doing. It's one thing to have a really fun dream and be like, I'm gonna put this out in the world and things are gonna change and I'm gonna change the situation for my family and do all those kind of things. But it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of hours that you put in. And so many of us start to neglect ourselves and what we know we really need to really push forward in our lives, but to also feel good at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So the first thing that you want to do is to unplug and get away. It seems so counterintuitive to be productive and successful in business, but what we have found is taking a balanced approach where you push when you have the energy and you relax when you don't, allows you to really go further on those times that you do take action. So even though it may seem but I have too many to-dos, I don't have time for that, it's actually the exact thing that you really need to propel yourself into business. You know, Chris and I recently took a trip out to our favorite cabin in the woods and we completely unplugged. Literally the electricity went out while we were there. And when we got back to town, I opened up my computer, logged into my online platform, and boom, we had just hit a Kajabi hero at $100,000. And it was really cool to be able to come back from literally doing nothing but taking care of ourselves, spending time in nature, coming back and knowing that the work that we did put in when we had the energy actually helped to pay off and work behind the scenes while we were taking time to rest. So it's really important to find that balance of do the work when you have the energy and take time off, unplug, get away, because that's where the real ideas and the creative solutions are going to come up to maybe the challenges that are causing that edge of burnout for you.
Yeah, and if you really want to put this in your calendar, start doing it one day of the week. Just unplug all the social media, turn your phone off one day out of the week, do it one weekend out of the month, and every quarter see if you can take a week off. If that's not realistic for you, that's fine too. Just do as much as you can, but put it in a regularly scheduled way. That way you're constantly removing all those distractions, because so much of the social media and so much of the things that we get involved in is really distracting us from our dream. And instead of that distraction, we want to stay disciplined so that when we are working, we're actually working on the things that matter and not getting ourselves pulled away by just riffraff things that happen, here in the moment, and it's someone else's stuff that's really impacting our lives.
Speaking of those distractions, social media and comparison and jealousy and all of that comes up along your journey, and that can cause a sense of burnout because you're comparing yourself to other people's success and you're wondering, why is this not happening for me? What I have found time and time again when we're working with our coaching clients is that if you have forgotten your why, then you're most likely going to burn out or give up before you actually hit that big, turning point moment where you feel like, oh my God, this is it, I'm doing it. So if you're on the edge of burnout because you're comparing yourself to someone else, then it's time for you to take a step back and to find meaning. Why did you start doing what you were doing? What made you excited? What inspired you to help and share and contribute in the first place?
Yeah, it's so easy to get lost in so much of the daily details that we miss out on who the customer is or who we're really serving or what our big mission is, because when you're writing an email, or when you're trying to do a launch, or when you're
tracking ROI.
Yeah, when you're doing
click-through rates.
You forget this was never really about the money, and so much more about it was this mission or this passion or this light that we had inside of us that we know we had to get out. And so make sure you spend time every day remembering why it is that you actually do it. If you have client testimonials, if you're in a service-based business, if you've got client testimonials, reread those. Go through that. And remember, I'm making a huge difference in these people's lives. People love what I'm doing, and reconnect back with that. A lot of times, it's not necessarily straight burnout from long, hard hours. It's forgetting that mission and letting that feeling rule your day.
Yeah, he's so right. I remember a few years back, I was starting to feel like burnt out in the hair salon. I felt like I wasn't making changes or impacting or growing anymore. And of course, it's all just a mindset. And reading those testimonials helped to shift my mindset right back into my mission and why I started doing what I was doing, and that I am helping people. Even if it's not millions at a time at that moment, that one person meant so much to me. And reading those testimonials, or even reaching out to a friend or someone who loves and supports you, just to open up and like remember, you know, that you are amazing. Because a lot of the times we're criticizing ourselves and we're so hard on ourselves that we can't even remember, you know, why we started, or we allow that fear to stop us from actually going forward with that big mission or that dream that you have.
Ooh.
So the third thing we want to share with you on how to avoid burnout is to prioritize self-care. You know, they say we all have 24 hours in the day, including Beyonce. And if we're not prioritizing our self-care, then we're spending too much time doing to-dos, obligations, and we're not operating from our highest potential. So if you prioritize your self-care, you clear it out on your calendar. You know, I always say, if you have 5 minutes in the morning, 5 intentional minutes makes all the difference in the world. So can you carve out a little bit of time each day to take care of yourself?
Yeah, and if you can't, you need to change up your whole life. This is not something that's optional.
True that.
You know, we always talk about self-care, and a lot of people, oh, I don't really have time for that. No. You don't have time for the other things. The self-care always comes first. Your body works like a machine. It needs certain things every day. Your personality, your spirit is the exact same way. You need so much love and affection during certain times. You need so much withdrawal and silence during certain times. And you have to be aware of what it is and be in tune with yourself and know, what is it that I need right now? Pause for a second and ask yourself, what have I really been needing? What have I been neglecting for myself? And start doing that immediately. You have to prioritize this. This part of your life has to come first, because eventually that machine will break down. If you neglect it long enough, it will not produce in the exact same way that you know it needs to produce, and you know that it can. And so if you keep your machine well oiled and greased, if your self-care, if your cup is full, you can give absolutely to your potential and probably surprise yourself. But if you're only running on half the maintenance that you really need to be doing to perform correctly, even if it's your emotional maintenance, even if it's limiting those negative things that you say or the negative things you think out in the world, if it's limiting that, you have to be aware of it, and you have to be constantly on your game in that part. That way, when you do give, when you do show up, you show up 100%. Because remember, all the energy and all the joy that you bring to any single experience is whatever you actually show up with. It's not something you're going to steal from somebody else. We're not trying to get more energy vampires in the world. There's plenty of those people out there. What we're encouraging you to do is build your own self-sense up, build that self-worth up, and then deliver amazing, great things out in the world.
Yeah, and when we talk about prioritizing self-care, it's not just on a daily basis, like, you know, checking in with yourself and taking a hot bath or whatever the case may be for your self-care routine, but it's also prioritizing your healing, putting your growth first. Because if you really want to help other people, like Chris says, you can't fill from an empty cup. And if you're only operating at half your energy, you're not going to be able to really give of your gifts, and you're almost going to feel like a sense of like unfulfillment, because there's something missing. And that something missing is you taking care of you first and saying, what do I really need right now? What needs to be healed? It's not just about, I need, you know, a spa day and some new lipstick, but it's really about taking care of the emotional needs, like Chris mentioned earlier. So let us know in the comments below, what do you need right now to prioritize your self-care so that you don't hit burnout? This is such a beautiful mission that you're on, and we need you to show up at your most elevated. So thank you so much for taking time to take some of this wisdom and put it into action. So we want to know, what are you going to do with this insight? What are you going to put into action? What do you need to do right now in your business, whether it be get away, unplug, take some time off, or remember your why and why you started this mission? Or is it that you need a little bit more time for self-care? Is there some healing that you need to do? There areas in your life that you've been neglecting that need prioritized? Let us know in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in here on the Elevated Life series. If you love this video, go ahead and like, subscribe, or tag your friend and share this video. We appreciate you spreading the good vibes, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.